right. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Um, so you volunteered with us here at Alexandria House for a while. Can I ask why you want to work for Alexandria House?
I do this now because of what I have been through. I guess just connecting that to what I do now and trying to help people. I really like it because of what I have been through.
You have a history with domestic violence?
My grandparents had a domestic violence relationship. It was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, a lot of blood, a lot of fighting. So, as I was being sheltered from the reality of the world, I was also going through witnessing a lot of domestic violence.
That's hard.
38% of all domestic violence victims become homeless at some point in their lives. Among mothers with children experiencing homelessness, more than 80% had previously experienced domestic violence.
We were living in the same house together, but she was never home. She was always working, or she had like her boyfriends. She like lived her life like she would live with them, leave for the whole week. And then she had crazy hours also. But my younger years is when I saw my grandmother's toxic side. My grandma's not like that anymore, but she told my mom, why don't you go and make money and leave Italia here with me? And just give me money every now and then and go live your life. And I guess my mom was young and she was like, okay. So I guess my mom was like, oh, I could do whatever I want with my life. Like I don't have a kid, but I do have a kid.
In the U.S., the neglect counts for 78% of all child mistreatment cases.
Well, what about your father?
He was in and out. He was in and out of my life. He's trying to get it back in now, but in and out as I was younger. I think they had a lot of issues with him. They had a lot of problems with him. They always told me he was a manipulator, a liar, never told the truth, that he was very obnoxious. And I didn't believe them until a few years ago. I got in contact with him and I did realize what they were saying was true.
So when did you become homeless yourself?
When I turned 13, and I want to say maybe 12, I started going through this really, really bad phase of rebellion, of rebelliousness, of rebellion. But it was really bad. By the time I was 13, I ran away 3-4 times from home, and I lived in the streets, and then I got into drugs, and then I went into juvie, and then I got out.
Children who are rejected by their parents, grow up in homes with considerable conflict, and are inadequately supervised are at greatest risk of becoming delinquents.
Also, when I was 12, I got introduced to like this clique, which was like this mini gang. So I felt like they showed me a lot of love and acceptance. I guess because we were all outcasts. I guess that it was that feeling of freedom and feeling accepted, right? Where at home, it was like always fighting, always arguing. It's like I couldn't do nothing right, but no one was helping me. So I guess that's kind of why I left. And then I met the father of my kids, which also ended up being a domestic violence relationship. And then after that, I'm sorry, I left that relationship, and it was really hard for me. I got therapy again because I had a lot of trauma from the relationship. And then I came to the Alexandria house.
So you feel that that experience can help you if you work here at Alexandria House?
Yeah, like I can really relate to a lot of the calls that come in, or the women that are coming through the house. Like it is hard because the women that are coming through the house are still going through it. And so since I'm kind of in a different place in my life, I can understand them, but I can't say that I am. I can only try to understand them. I'm not in their shoes.
And what do you do if we can't help them?
The calls that come in, it's hard to hear their story, but I can understand them. And Judy always says, if we can't help them, because 99% of the time we cannot, she says all you can do is just listen to them.
Over the last 5 years, the number of temporary housing beds has decreased by 9%.
So they're different because they don't discriminate on the situation that people are going through, as far as the LGBT community, as far as race, as far as situation wise. So when Judy goes to help someone go to court to get their kids back, they almost don't want to help the person because they have an organization by their side. And every time she goes, she sees the same Hispanic and Black people, like she's the only white person there. And so it's really frustrating for her. And she tries to help in any way that she can.
Most minority groups in the United States experience homelessness at a rate higher than whites, and therefore make up a disproportionate share of the homeless population.
And she doesn't put a time limit as much as far as like how long they can rest, and just help the person no matter what, is what I think is different than other places.
One last question. What do you want to be communicated if someone were to tell your story?
Yeah, I guess now that I think about it, connecting what I've been through to what I do now. Because I do this now because of what I have been through. I guess just trying to help people.
On any given night in America, more than 500,000 people are homeless. The impact of the COVID-19 crisis has been deeply felt at Alexandria House. In the past 8 months, they've experienced a 600% increase in spending to meet the emergency needs of their community.
And this person is going through it. And we can't help them. We can just listen to them and give them other numbers and continue. Sorry, I have to take this call.
Okay, well, when I was little, I was at Alexandria House with my mom. We were homeless for a while.
I was actually just getting over being being a homeless youth out in Hollywood, and there was this organization that was giving free parenting class, and I had not had stable parents, so I signed up for the parenting class by myself. I fell back homeless after I had Renee. Renee was like a baby. I tried to get into the programs. I just didn't know what to do as a parent.
They really helped her get an apartment around there, over there around the Alexandria House.
It took a while, but by the time Renee was a year and a half, was the time we got into Alexandria House. They helped me with everything that was a struggle. Renee got diagnosed at 8 with ADHD, anxiety, OCD.
Um, and then I was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age. My therapist recommended that I do a sport, and that's when I started cheer because Judy's daughter, she did a sport. She was in the same cheer team as I am now, so Judy helped me get into cheer.
So they were very helpful with doing all the, helping me get through all that. And everything that Renee used to get in trouble for, she was able to kind of blossom and take it to the next level.
I really like talking. I love making friends. That's what I would want people to know about me because I'm a really fun person. Like, I really like to go out, do a lot of stuff. I like to do a lot of activities and sports. I do swim, cheer, and I used to do track. I just really love sports and I have a lot of fun. In fact, my best friend Rachel, her sister also did cheer with me, also got into cheer from Alexandria House. She's my best friend. She's from Alexandria House too. We go there all the time together and pick out all the presents and stuff, and we always have fun. We still hang out to this day.
They kind of were, I guess they helped raise me. because I was at the time like the youngest at Alexandria House. So I'm still like the baby of Alexandria House, along with now my baby.
They're like a second home, and they really help us out. They always like, whenever we really need something, they'll come through with whatever it is. I love to talk to the new people. I get to pick out presents for my mom. I love seeing her open them and seeing what she got us and what me and my sister picked out for her. Yeah, my life has changed for the better.
One day, if you are lucky, you will say goodbye to all the stories you ever told about yourself, about what a woman is and a man does when all the world is as it should be. It is a quiet and incredible farewell you will give to the person you once were. It is a long and slow salutation, this becoming who you are. A hello to a whole new existence that you never before imagined, except perhaps in a dream.
I can be sweet and silent when I'm thinking of words I'm writing. I can be overwhelming, but baby, all of it comes from passion. And I can be a bit dramatic, but baby, that's my favorite part about me. And maybe I cry too easy. Is that why it is so hard to love me? To love me, to love me, to love me, to love me. There's a thing that people say, I don't know if it's true. They say that daughters pick their partners based on their fathers, who are the authors of how we first see love. Well, I hope that isn't true. 'Cause if my love is anything like you, the ups and downs I might not survive. The only love I need is that one which is right here within me. Oh, I wish I knew that when I was 17. Ever-changing story, the constant lies and worry. Mom said it'd be over, but darling, it's October, and I promised you I'll be the one you want me to. That only left me lonely. I'm trying, here's to hoping. Does it ever get better? I'm trying hard to be better. Why is it so damn hard to love me? Am I unlovely? There's a thing that people say, I don't know if it's true. They say that love comes from only one, and I know that isn't you. It's right inside of me. I finally feel free. Oh, I wish I knew that when I was 17. The only love I need is that one which is right here within me. Oh, I wish I knew that when I was 17.
come from a badass line of women. Honestly, all the women in my life are my role models. They taught me you don't need a man, just do it yourself, and value yourself, and they're like, learn from our mistakes. Even though my childhood wasn't the best, I wouldn't change anything about it because it led me to be this strong, independent woman. I had a pretty crazy childhood. Good memories, though.
It would only last 5 minutes.
He's a junkie and he's bipolar, but he's my dad.
It would only last 5 minutes.
It all starts out wonderful until he strikes. The piercing of my mom's screams. Do I call the police? Never stopping until it's almost too late, and the cycle begins all over again. I'm the oldest, my mom's right hand, so I get the backlash too. Forgiving every time, forgetting never.
It would only last 5 minutes.
Whenever he was in a good mood, we would go to Disneyland, drive-ins, eat yummy food. But then again,
it would only last for 5 minutes.
And it goes back to cycles, where people just follow the cycle. It can either make you or break you. I told my mom, I don't want to end up like you. And she's like, I don't want you to end up like me. As parents, you want your kids not to be like you. As parents, you want your kids to be better than you. You don't want them to make the same mistakes. You want them to succeed. I didn't want to be that same stereotyped girl. And I honestly love who I am. I got lucky because my mom was stable. That's where I go back to my mom as my role model. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be who I am today. My motto is everything happens for a reason. I've been saying that forever, and I stand by it.
One day, when you are walking by yourself in a park at midnight, you will hear the sound of an old life echoing from a past that you swear belongs to someone else. You will listen to a voice telling you stories of a person you no longer recognize, speaking in a language you do not understand. And then on that day, you will know, as the butterfly exits the chrysalis, as the leaves of cold November blow by without you noticing, that you, too, have changed.
Our whole life is like chapters, you know? And that's how I explain it to them, even, the kids. Everything is a chapter in your education, whether it's elementary to middle school to high school, college to, grad school, whatever. In my chapter right now, we live in South Central right now. And, again, I'm grateful that we were able to have Section 8. And I think, okay, now our next chapter, let's move to a better area. Right now, I'm actually not working, but I plan on, opening up something. I bought, a food cart, so I'm going to see what kind of food to sell once we move. That's my plan. That's my plan right now.
I think it's this one. This one is really small. No, I think it's this one.
This isn't a tablespoon is as big as a regular spoon.
What? I'm confused then. I put the baking powder for the tablespoon in this one.
Okay, just make sure it says table and not tea.
I did. I put the tablespoon.
Okay, I know, but everyone does that. Everyone makes that mistake. That's why I make sure it says table and not tea. I read it. She's making cornbread. I have 6 kids, 4 boys and 2 girls, and it was really hard for us to find our own place with 1 adult and so many kids. I would even say that I only had 3 because I have 6 and still.
Oh. That's too many minors.
It was just very hard. And so I literally went up and looked on 211. I called 211 and they gave me
a list of shelters.
Because I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to sleep in the car. The kids, we need somewhere to go, And I was working as a cook. Yeah. So I literally called down the list of shelters and a lot of them were, saying,
there are too many of you. We're full.
And when I called Alexandria House, they asked,
what's your status? What situation are you in? How would you feel if you were in a mixed environment, of races and different people and ages?
And the house, the greenhouse, have you been there? Well, it's just very welcoming. It's like a big old home the way they have it set up, like the atmosphere. It's not like a shelter where you're like, oh my God, it's scary.
Well, you don't really know what to think in shelters,
My oldest, it's her first year of college right now. She's going into San Jose College. So she has to have her first semester here, and I don't know. The news is saying it might even go into 22. She's very she loves reading a lot. She's very self-disciplined, very on top of things, and she's very, very smart. And whenever she says something, it's almost like I can literally ask her, what do you think about this situation? And she's like,
to be fair, the lady was busy working and you asked her something and she wasn't really trying to be rude.
And then I think about it and I'm like, oh shit, you're right. Maybe I was being a bit too much. Or maybe I don't need to take it personally. She's very on point. So I always tell her, oh, you could be a judge, because you have very good judgment.
Yeah, just because you're my mom, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear or be nice.
She's very what do they call it? It's biased. You're not picking a side. You're just seeing things
unbiased.
Is it?
Yeah, it's unbiased.
Okay. That's what I love. Your kids, I feel like they do educate you. It kind of makes you think differently. And then I have 18, 16. I have a 16-year-old. When you're a parent, you tend to be not controlling, but you have to listen to me. So I try to think nobody wants to listen to someone who's just
do it because I said so.
And my son, he's like a lion, like a born leader, kind of you can't really boss him. And it doesn't mean I let him do whatever he wants, but I see that he's a strong leader kind of person. But I'm it's better to talk with your kids about everything. So I tell him, I literally sat down with him and told him,
I don't want you to make the same choices as me. Having children too young, because you're still a child. I want you to travel. I want you to be successful, just you and your girlfriend, just respect each other and be careful. And if you guys decide to take it to the next level, you better use contraceptives.
Nobody talked to me about that. My mom didn't talk to us about stuff like that. And I had a baby when I was 17. I don't want to tell them,
oh, don't do drugs. And then that's it. No, these are consequences. You'll get addicted. It will ruin your life.
I literally tell them facts about shit is hard.
Hey, come on, share it with him. That's a lot of pizza rolls.
And then I have my third eldest. He is 14. He's taller than me. So is my other boy. He's very good with electronics and math. He was referred to honors math, yeah, and he loves science and he loves Marvel. He has a very good memory with things. He could literally tell you the formula of oxygen, and I'm just
oh, shit.
Yeah, and even when I would go to his the parent teacher meetings, his teachers were always thanking me for letting him go to school, and I was like,
oh shit, aren't I supposed to be thanking you?
Because I would tell him,
oh, you always get all the hard questions of math right, and then the easy ones, those are the ones you got wrong.
And then my daughter, the fourth oldest, my daughter you're 11, right?
11.
You're 12, right?
11.
Oh, 11. See, I knew that. I forget how old they are because they're so big. She's almost my height. She's like my right hand. Anything I'm cooking, she's always helping me. If we're doing albondigas, she's rolling the meatballs. If we're doing tamales, she's always helping me with food in the kitchen. She's the one that will smack her brothers over the head if they're not doing something.
No, don't even think about it. I'm letting it boil.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? She and the younger three kids, they're very artistic. They like to draw. I don't have time for it, but she's pretty creative. And she loves animals. She wants to be a doctor.
An animal doctor, like Dr. Doolittle, because we have 3 cats.
Yeah, and let me see then. There's my fifth eldest. He's very like soft spoken, and he has like a sweet little voice. He doesn't like to be too rough, and he's always drawing like stories, like comic stories. He likes comics too. He likes Marvel. They all do. Yeah.
Mom likes them too.
Like when he's drawing his stories, it's literally like you can hear the sound effects to it, and he's always like,
Pew pew pow. These are the bullets. This is the Trident King. Mom's like,
"Oh wow!" And he literally explains it to you in detail. I always try to encourage them to like kind of have an idea of what they want to be, you know. And then the younger one, I don't know how, but it's almost like he thinks he's like an only child. I don't know how that happened. He wants all the attention, and he's like the boss baby. He's very rough.
He's kind of like the bully of the family.
Hey, I don't want to say that too loud. Be nice. He has a sweet heart. He does like to be mean. So, what can we say about him? No, he's not mean. He tries. He's like the Hulk. He tries. I mean, he likes cars. He likes playing superheroes. He doesn't like to be left out. He tries to like, be included with everything. He loves sweets and he loves chocolate. So we're trying to scare him and say that
kids can get diabetes too.
It's a process because he acts like broccoli is going to kill him.
It will.
So it's a work in progress. Me and my younger daughter have been blending him smoothies, and we throw a bunch of broccoli in there and stuff. And we're trying to act like nobody can have it but him. And he's like,
"That's mine, and I drink it."
"Hey, David, you like vegetables, huh?" He said, "Yes, of course." Hey, what are you going to put in that bowl? Baking powder?
Well, it can't be in this one, and it can't be in this one. Yeah, I'll just use the bigger yellow one. If anything, they'll just be real fluffy.
People think only poverty is, when you don't have money and, stuff, and that's part of it. But there's people, they literally have nothing. Or even the way they were raised, like they were never taught, certain morals or how to cook, like my mom was real old school and we knew how to cook everything from scratch. And it just really made me appreciate family and what we have, because there were so many women there, Alexandria, that they really, like family members died and they had nothing. And I'm like, it was sad, Like I said, it makes you really appreciate, what we have. Like for me, my kids.
I was seeing stars. I couldn't breathe. That was the first and last time. From waking up every day, anxious, every day waking up, wondering what I would see. An inappropriate touch, maybe. A stolen kiss. My child's lost innocence. Oh, how it frightened me. I remember your belt, my neck. No, this couldn't be. Don't you love me? Call the police. Call the police. She called them. I filed the report. I couldn't let it be. I'm sorry.
Estaba viendo estrellas. No podía respirar. Esa fue la primera y última vez. People I loved insulting me. Drop the charges, they would scream. I did not have friends. No friends at all. Just the feeling of loneliness to see me through it all. There was one, a light in the dark. She gave me hope, a temporary spark. Go to the shelter, she said. I did. We needed a bed. Really nice, but
really hard. So many rules. I didn't have a card in between places, cold and unfeeling. I didn't know what to do. My mind was reeling, praying, praying to find something good. On my knees, praying that I would find something I would. A kind soul with some feeling left could see I was feeling quite bereft. They knew I couldn't go back. No, I couldn't believe it. They had found me, us, somewhere to go.
I was seeing stars. I couldn't breathe. That was the first and last time. Alexandria House, a beautiful haven, not cold or unfeeling. No, not at all. Only warmth. A place that answered my call. A wonderful place, but not without its difficulties. Just because of where I come from, my status, how I speak. My days were filled with technicalities. Searching for a job, praying for just one, but with an open case, no papers, it seemed it couldn't be done. Illegal, illegal filled my ears. English classes, court dates, endless appointments filled my years. Trying to give my kids a future, opportunities I never had, a chance at their dreams, at college. I was praying for it. I had never wanted anything so bad.
Estaba viendo estrellas. No podía respirar. Esa fue la primera y última vez. All of this is past. Now, with my own job, my own home, I can feel safe at last. The kids are free. They are safe, happy. For me, this is a dream, but I will never forget my time at Alexandria House. People who showed me feeling, showed me their humanity. I look at the stars. I can finally breathe. That was the first and last time.
Mine. Lack. I can't share it. I have to hold on to it. 2 suitcases, a big old duffel, a backpack, a stroller, and a 3-year-old, trying to figure out what we were going to do. I couldn't find any money to even get a bus ticket down here. But when I closed the door, it was like going to your grandma's house or something, you know? The beds were made up nice, everything was put in its place, and we were safe. One of those woo-saw moments, you know? Where you're just like, okay, everything's all right. Ours. There's enough. We can give it all away and there will still be enough. That journey of going from being an individual to being a community member, knowing somebody's got my back. One great big family. Alexandria House is my home, even though we don't sleep there anymore. This is the only family he knows. I still struggle with some of the trauma of becoming homeless. Most of the time you're doing everything you can not to end up here, not to end up homeless, not to end up hopeless. But when you see those people on the street that are, you know, drinking or obviously doing drugs or something like that, maybe they're doing that because they became so hopeless, not the other way around, because they reached out and they couldn't find any help. There was no one that they could lean on. There was no one that had enough resources to help them. The red tape was too thick. It could be your brother or your sister or your child or your parent. It's not that hard to end up here. It just takes a couple of really bad situations. Judy saved my life by letting us come. She hates for me to say that. I love my home, but it's not the easiest thing I've ever done. But I'm grateful for it. I was so grateful that we were finally safe grateful we had a place to go where we didn't have to worry about where we were going to sleep and whether or not we were going to have a bed. And if we didn't have a bed, how was I going to be able to protect my child while we slept out on the street? I've been really grateful for the opportunity that Alexandria House gave us. Judy saved my life.
To be honest, I feel like my story with Alexandria House is more of everything that came after.
I'm in 3rd grade, and I'm starting to pick up an instrument. I think most of the attention is given to my brother, the older kid, to kind of pick up these instruments. We were going to invest all this time, but it's not working out. I decided to kind of like do my own thing and use hand-me-down instruments that didn't work out for my brother. So I start on the violin.
Judy's been so supportive of my music career as well. She'll invite me and other ensembles that I'm a part of to perform at their events, to kind of give us exposure and like that experience of playing in front of groups. I appreciate every second of it. It just created a lot of good memories and keeps me still looped into the house.
In 7th grade, the Harmony Project offers me a slot in the program. Through there, I start taking private lessons. I'm fully involved, and they're able to provide me a free instrument that is much better than one that was probably bought for $20 anywhere. I'm able to take private lessons for free there. They are able to open the doors of me playing oboe, and I'm picking up piano and guitar on the way there too, just for myself.
Judy's kind of like one of the best influences I've ever come across. Always positive, and it's always like, how can I help you? Which is kind of what I think my entire family took on as our personal missions too.
The Harmony Project offered me a scholarship. They helped me go to college, which was amazing. I wouldn't have been able to fly back and forth without that scholarship. I went to school in Iowa, Cornell College. It's a small liberal arts college. We worked on like a 1 block at a time system. It's okay for a lot. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Anyways.
It's like full circle. Now that I'm working back at Harmony Project, they were able to give me a job as one of their alumni. And now I'm able to kind of do the same and give back to a community that I came from. Offer these students the same attention of gifting instruments that they can't afford. Giving them opportunities to like play at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. So it's really cool to kind of just live these lives of giving back to your community. Like, the importance of community in my life has just brought so much. And I think that really stems from Alexandria House, to be honest. They were the first idea of community that I fully understand, and what communities can do to change lives.
How'd I do?
Great! Keep up the good work.
Will you record this? Is it just audio or visual and audio? Okay, just curious. And then I'll forget about it. I'm gonna forget about the recording.
I was in a situation where I had to find immediate housing because the housing I was in wasn't permanent. And so I interviewed and I got picked to stay there, which was a blessing. And a lot of things were happening at the time. At the time, I was separated from my children. I was homeless by myself. My children were housed with their father, who was taking care of them. There's a whole lot of stories in there.
Okay, so ever since I was 10, I had this dream of being a grandmother, a mother and a grandmother. I couldn't wait to have children, and I wanted to have 8, so I was set on having 8.
A message for somebody that I love. A message to my grandson, King. King, things may seem like they don't go your way sometimes, but screaming is not the thing to do. So please learn to be patient and realize that Wella has got your best interest at heart. That's the message I want to give to you.
And so we went on this quest to start a nation, to start a family. We were interested in naming ourselves and enriching, no, that's not the right word, incorporating traditional African cultures and values. So one of the first things we did is we changed our names.
My daughter's getting ready to have another one. A baby girl. My 5th grandchild. Oh, wait, no. I have 5 now. Wait, 3? 4? Yeah, it'll be the 5th one. Lost track for a second. I have 8 kids. 7 alive.
I wasn't born with Tabia Salimu. Tabia Salimu is the name he gave me. And I took it because it had meaning. Tabia means talented. Sophia, my middle name, means clear-minded and pure. And Salimu means peace. So at the time, it was way before 9/11, all you had to do was go to the DMV and sign some papers and pay $15 to change your name. So we did that. We changed our names. That was the first thing we did. And then when my children were born, they naturally got that last name. So we're like the Slimu tribe. And I like that word, tribe, because it kind of defines like a family unit that's a little bit more than a family.
My children all mean the world to me. The first 5 I helped raise. Number 6 is not alive. That's a whole nother story. And number 7 and number 8 were adopted out. They were open adoptions, so we were in each other's lives, but I relinquished my parental rights, so I was not in their life 100%. But I brought them into this world, so I count them. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of stories in there.
Well, as I said, that's another story.
That's a whole nother story.
The first story. New York, New York.
Fast-paced New York City, born and raised, from the Bronx and proud. From the city that never sleeps, studying at NYU, live jazz heard on the streets.
I really enjoyed my high school days. My high school days were fun. I went to that school that made that movie, Fame, Music and Art, and it was quite special. I had a really good junior high school experience too. I learned how to play the violin. I learned photography. School in general, I enjoyed school. It's called the Village, but it's Greenwich Village in New York. When I was going to grad school at NYU, I got a chance to really see the jazz lifestyle. I found a lot of clubs that had free moments or affordable moments to go to, different jazz clubs and hear live music.
The second story. California dreamin'.
Beaches and buses and Beverly Hills. Consistent weather. She found comfort in a new place at a new pace.
At the time, I was taking a break from all that schooling, and I was in grad school at NYU. And one of the guys I was painting with, I was house painting at the time, he says, I'm going to LA to run a marathon and hang out on a farm for 3 months. You want to come? I was like, sure, of course. I'll take a 3-month vacation to California. And so we took a Greyhound bus. Took us 5 days to get there because that's the year it snowed in Texas, and it was quite an adventure. And after 3 months went by, he was getting ready to leave, and he goes, "You coming?" And I said, no, well, I have this interview with RTD. I think I want to learn how to drive before I go back. So that's what he left, and I stayed.
The third story, my children's father.
She went on a quest to start a nation as her biological clock was ticking. She was in search of a sperm donor, a seed planter, if you will, a partnership to start a family.
He was interested in starting a new family. He taught at a school called Children's Space, and Children's Space was like an African village here in America. I think he was the history teacher or the Black history teacher. So here I was, a 24-year-old young whippersnapper who thought I knew everything, as most 24-year-olds do. And he believed in me. You know, when I told him I can have these children at home, he believed in me. So I had my first 5 children at home. They were all home births, but the very first time it was just he and I. And we did it. We did it to the point where we did it 4 more times. We did it 5 times. But he could have just totally knocked my future wishes and made them non-significant, but he believed in me, and that's one of the things that I really appreciate out of that relationship. One thing that I'm real grateful for is his belief in me. You know, people want to call him my husband, and I correct them and I say, no, he's my children's father. It puts in perspective our commitment to raising the children. You know, it was all about it. It was all about the children.
The fourth story, the story of Selah.
A woman's choice, a certain decision, afraid of what they would think, she forgave the most important person, herself.
When I was first homeless in 1996 and on the streets of Skid Row, terrified of what could become of me, and first separated from my children, I encountered a friend of mine who I felt comfortable enough to be in the same room with him, naked. It happened very quickly, and a week later, I went and got a pregnancy test, and it came out positive, and I got an abortion. I wasn't ready to have another child after my 5 children, emotionally and spiritually and physically. I was street homeless. I was in a program, in a downtown Skid Row program. And so I decided to take that to God. And I knew that my relationship with God wasn't determined on what other people thought and what other people say. And I prayed a lot. I meditated a lot on it. And I learned to forgive myself. So I gave the child sex, female. And I gave her a name, Selah. SALEH, I believe. I have it written down somewhere. Selah is an Arabic word or expression meaning and so it is.
The fifth story, the house.
Alexandria House. Community, togetherness, sharing. A house that provides for her mentorship, stability. A place where she can relax.
I don't remember the interview, the specific questions. I just remember feeling that I belong there, and nothing I said would I knew I had this interview. I felt like I was going to be a conjugal part of Alexandria House, them to me and me to them. And learning to live in a community has been the backbone of how I'm able to raise my children, because it reinforced like togetherness and community, sharing, stuff like that. Just the unabridged, what's the word? Unconditional, the unconditional acceptance, because sometimes I'm not so easy to deal with, and I appreciate the fact that they put up with me, and they care about me, and they love me, and it's a genuine feeling to know that you're cared about and that you're welcome to come into their home. That's the best part.
The sixth story, the Salimu tribe.
A family unit. A little bit more than a family. A village. Tabia means talented. Sophia means clear-minded and pure. Salimu means peace.
My grandson spends the weekends. He is 3.5 years old, and what's most precious to me, and what I think is the most important job for me as his grandmother, is when he wakes up, being right there and cuddling him and rocking him in my rocking chair. I can feel the comfort and the support that he feels in those hugs. And my granddaughters, oh my God, they're just so beautiful, and they're full of energy. My granddaughter Aya is 2.5, and she tears through here like a bullet, going through different toys, because I have toys for them, and I show them art. They have access to pen and paper and crayon and paper, paint and paper. This was my fondest dream. My fondest wish was to have grandchildren.
The seventh story, joy.
Her creativity is a gift from God. She's talented and full of humility. She's grateful and creative and has a mindset of her own.
Art is my salvation. It gives me an avenue to build up my self-esteem. I didn't grow up with a whole lot of self-esteem, and it took my adult life for me to come into accepting myself and loving myself. And art is a tool that I use to express the feelings that are inside, wanting to pour out. With tissue art, it teaches me patience. I don't have deadlines. I don't have expectations of having to finish at a certain time. So for me, art is very freeing. It frees my spirit, and it gives me joy. It gives me an opportunity to express joy and to feel joy.
A final note.
A divine message from her to the world, from lessons learned and life lived.
Life has sweet moments. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise.
My daughter told me the other day, Mom, when I get older and I go away, I'm going to feel sad because you're going to be alone. And I said, oh no. When you leave, I'm going to make my dreams come true. This is going to sound a little bit silly because I'm already old, but I want to be an astronomer. And I'm already working on that. When I was little and I used to have a lot of issues with my family, I would go to this, I don't know how to say it in English. It's like a closet, but it's not in the wall. You know, wardrobe. I would go in there and I would be in there for hours when I wanted to be alone because I couldn't stand my family. Don't think I'm weird. It's just, I would dream of space. I would dream of going somewhere else besides Earth. I wanted to go to the moon. I always wanted to, see other planets, just somewhere else far away. Because a lot of things don't make sense here on Earth.
You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise.
I always feel different from everybody. I never wanted to follow the rules. I never wanted to feel like I have to listen to this person because it's my grandma, because it's my uncle. I was a troublemaker of my family, because we will always argue. When I came here, I was 14 and my mother was already remarried with somebody else. And okay, so my stepfather was very abusive. And when I came here, he would always try to touch me. So then, after I moved in with my father, for whatever reason, tried to rape me. I never had a good relationship with my mother, to be honest with you. Since I was little, I never saw her as my mother. I remember her taking care of me, but I never felt that connection. I always saw her as my babysitter. But my father, I adored. He was my everything. He was the love of my life. Because of what my father tried to do to me, it broke me. As a woman, as a human being. I wanted to turn into this, I can say anything here, right? I wanted to turn into this ugly fat woman that no man would like. I'm sorry, but it is the truth.
Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise.
So then, Alexandria House, Miss Judy, I think you know Miss Judy, she's just like an angel because it doesn't matter who you are or what you've been through. She will heal you and she will teach you. And not only that, besides the healing, she will teach you to help other people heal. So that's why I learned so much. She really liked the way I was raising my kids and treated my kids. She actually said one time the only person she would pass her job on to would be my daughter. She would tell me, Marina, your kids are so well behaved and respectful. Then that's how I started talking with her, and then I wouldn't be afraid to let her know if I thought she was wrong. She said to me one day, Marina, you're one of the ones that I fight with, and that's a good thing. And I was like, wait a minute, fighting is bad, so this is bad. And then I talked with someone that's really smart and they said, no, when she says that, she means she respects your point of view and she respects that you're honest and you're not just like, yes, you're the boss, yes. I always go for what's right, and that's who I am.
Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear.
I rise.
I rise.
I rise.
I want to learn how to do a little bit of film. I have a lot of things in my head that I want to put out there. I'm going to tell you something. I wrote a little story about the Alexandria house, and I'm going to call it The Greenhouse. You know, there's a yellow house and there's a greenhouse. This one is a family that is in a hotel, and the mom has 4 kids. They're in a hotel, so they don't have money for the next day. They don't have food. And then they get that phone call from the Alexandria house. And they tell them, "You're moving in, your room is ready." So like they started jumping, screaming, and they run off all from the hotel all the way to the Alexandria house. And while they are running, they are fighting for who gets there first. And then one jumps on top of the other one pulls their hair, stuff like that. Even if I just put it on YouTube to give to Miss Judy as a gift, it is something small, but I want to do it. I want it to be out there.
I rise.
I rise.
I rise.
Maya Angelou went through sexual abuse and rape, and she turned into this poet. I get connected to that because I've been hurt a lot, and I've also hurt people a lot. I've hated people a lot, and I've learned from the poem that I may hate somebody, but they will still rise. I may want to get rid of somebody, but they might still rise, and it's the same with me. People may cut me, they may hate me, they may have wanted to hurt me, and I still will rise.
I rise.
I rise.
I rise.